So I just finished watching your Macho Man truck video.
Okay.
It's pretty good. That truck looks awesome.
Yeah, the guy did a good job, huh?
Yeah. Was he from down in your end there?
Well, Chad Buckland is he's living in Florida right now.
Oh.
But the guy that helped him with it, Morris Ashkenaz, he's from up in Pennsylvania, actually.
Oh, really? Wow.
No. So one guy worked on the truck, the other guy worked on the body, and debuted it at our event. That was actually event we sponsored. It was the event put on by Matt Stolt and the guy Morris. They ran a monster cross, which was a combination of monster trucks and road course racing. Road course off-road racing. So it had
fun.
a lot of crossover appeal.
See, that's my type of racing now. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind doing that.
You would like it?
Yeah, I would love it. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. Looks really cool. That track looked fun too, man.
They spent some time. They spent some time building it.
Beaver, PA. The Beeve.
Is that what you call it?
I guess as it was on the track there. The Beeve.
yeah, the Beeve.
Leave it to Beaver.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So that's out near Pittsburgh, right? Is that where that was on?
Honestly, I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I never heard of Beaver, PA, but
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it exists.
That's kind of a made up.
I think you guys made it up. It's got to be out west. All these places in PA I never heard of are out west, so let's take a look here. Let's see how far it is from me. They got these things on the phones now that you can. They have like maps on the phones and GPS. Oh, you want? Hey, this is this is gonna take us right back to the '96 Nats.
Oh, great!
It's right below Newcastle, PA. Beaver, PA. Yeah. You know what? Wagon Hill's first track was over at Grove City. Now that I'm looking at the map here, right off Interstate 80. So it was slightly north of Newcastle, northeast. Grove City. That's where the first track was located at. Yesterday we did a podcast on the Anchor app, the Ripcast drive-through, and we were talking about the '96 Nationals. Go figure. And I mentioned that I raced there at their first track before they moved to Newcastle. So the first one was at Grove City. But yeah, Beaver's right below Newcastle, so that's cool. Not hard to get to for me, really. It's about 5 hours.
Really?
Yeah, about 4 to 5 hours. Straight out 80, though. All I got to do is jump right on the highway here and go right out. Well, that's cool. But yeah, that seems like that's my type of racing now, Jason.
I could see that being on your level.
Yeah, I would like to do that. Monster truck racing. That looks like fun. I couldn't do these cars today. Jesus. Racing against these young guys. I'd rather go out there and have some fun.
I think you would. It's a lot of fun.
That was a good video. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check Jason's J Concepts. What do you call them? The vlogs?
Yeah, vlog.
Vlogs.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, it's a thing that not everybody sits there and listens to all that stuff. And, I mean, we realize that, you know, it's for a certain percentage of people that want to, you know, listen or get that in depth. But, you know, sometimes I think it's important to kind of roll back on some of those things and discuss them and bring in different trucks and things that we have at the races and bring them into our garage, and we can give people a little closer look at some of these different trucks and talk about the events and go over it with Fred. And not easy, to kind of recount all those things and, you know, go through the effort, but we try to do it for the people that enjoy it. And, you know, obviously we get a couple people that say, you know, they love it, more of it, you know, great video. And then there's those couple guys that every time we put a video up, it gets like a thumbs down right away.
Really?
There's some guy that follows us.
It's not me.
That his only goal is to give us a thumbs down every time we upload a video.
Oh.
So,
it's probably Joel.
Thanks to him for. I guess I'm assuming it's a him. It could be a her.
That's true.
But yeah, every time video upload, thumbs down. But I mean, obviously we get a lot of thumbs up too. But it's just kind of funny that it's like, did this guy actually listen? You know, watch 17 minutes of this video and then
no,
and then go thumbs down. I think he just comes up and he just puts thumbs down and that's it.
It's probably the same person that trashed us on iTunes, and then when you looked at all his other reviews that he gave, he like trashed everybody on everything. You know, it's funny.
That's a lot of work to sit there and trash people.
It is. Well, I know how that goes too. It's a lot of work. But hey, you know, what the hell? Who cares? It's fun. I liked the video though. It was good. I watched the whole 14 minutes of it. I think that was a 14-minute. Yeah. That was good.
It's a super cool truck, and
I wonder if there was other wrestling themed trucks there at that race.
I don't think there was many at that race, but back in those days, there was quite a few because WWE got in on some sponsorships.
Yep.
And then what the hell is the name of the other?
You had Stone Cold Steve Austin's truck.
No, WCW. Yeah,
Yep.
Then WCW got involved, and they had a bunch of trucks.
Yeah.
Which I think almost all the WCW trucks were Bigfoot trucks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so it was like, you know, they had the Hulkster, and they had the Stinger.
Mm-hmm.
They had the Macho Man. That was a Bigfoot truck. You know, they had several of them. I didn't really watch monster truck racing at that point, but kind of with talking about some of the stuff, I end up going back and looking at some of it. And I asked Fred, I'm like, man, I don't. They had Hollywood Hogan. They had that truck.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll bump into these on the internet, and I'm like, is this real?
I also was watching the 96 and 97 videos because I was like, you know what? I really don't remember like how Bing did in 97. So I went on YouTube and searched the race out.
So
Okay.
it was. So you were looking for how Bing did.
Well, yeah, sure. I was like, wow, he came off that big win in 96. I was just like, yeah, I wonder how he did in 97 because I can't remember. But then when I watched the video, I was like, oh, I remember that track. And yeah, I think he finished like 7th or something. But then I was also checking Jason run around the track too. Him and Kinwald battling out and the feud that those two have to this day.
We were feuding.
I guess. Some great races there, man. And you guys complained today about people like, oh, he bumped me and he didn't wait for me. They didn't wait back in those days.
Yeah, Kinwald jumps on the wrong side of the track, hits his guy. That was his teammate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you found some pretty funny pictures of me, and it's amazing that that's 21 years ago now.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is crazy because you're like, man, now you're starting to see these photos, and you're like, wow, I really looked a lot younger.
Wait a minute here. This Hollywood Hogan monster truck is built on the Big 4 chassis that you own?
That's correct, yeah.
So you own the Hollywood Hogan truck?
Well, it was Bigfoot 4, and see, they had a deal with WCW. Bigfoot had a deal with WCW, so they did a certain amount of shows with those different bodies on them.
Oh my God!
And one of the shows they did with Bigfoot 4 with the Hollywood Hogan body on it, so kind of cool. And that wasn't the only one. They put different ones on there. They had Snakebite on there, Bigfoot, of course, and Hollywood Hogan and others. So.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Cool picture. All right. Yeah, it's pretty cool that you own that chassis in Bigfoot 4. Wow. Can't wait to see what you do with it.
I have some news. There's a little bit of news to report on that, but anyway.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We don't have to talk about it right now, but.
No. Well, I'm excited about that. Can't wait. Ron, are you here?
I'm right here.
Ron Schuur, everybody. Welcome to the show, Ron.
Well, thanks for having me.
Gotti Jr. here, and I got this guy here that you might know, too. His name's Jason Ruona.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I figured.
What's happening, Ron?
Oh, it's just a beautiful, balmy 90-degree day out here. Having fun building motors up.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah. That's my afternoon job, is to keep ahead of inventory, keep building them up.
Good. So you're building the next winner.
Yeah, that's it. Of course. We're always looking for the winner. Oh, we've been doing pretty good with the new generation motor, so I'm quite happy.
Yeah, I mean, you might want to explain before we even get started for people that don't know your two positions right now, and between Schuur Speed and HobbyWing, and then we'll kind of go back, do a little back in the time machine. We'll catch up, and then we'll come up to the current stuff.
Sounds good. Yeah, right now I'm currently the owner, or whatever you want to call it, of Schuur Speed. It's my little baby, and I take care of everything from designing to building them up and so forth. And then several years ago, I became the team manager for HobbyWing, and doing that little project gets me around the country with yourself, Jason, and out to some other places, but keep up after the team and lend some development time and help to bring us better speed controls.
So keeps you busy between both sides, kind of both ends.
Hey, when you're retired, you got to keep moving.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Very busy. I love this hobby, very passionate. So yeah, I'm very busy.
So we'll jump back a little and kind of talk about how you kind of got started, in RC, and we won't have to go over every little detail because I know we're going a ways back, but we talked to Paul. We talked to Paul Ciccarello last week, and I didn't realize how far back he went in RC and slot cars, and I got a feeling that you've been around. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Youngster. Yeah, I started. Oh my gosh, I started playing with slot cars, and did that from probably like 8 years old. Traveled all over racing slot cars through the mid '70s. Had a chance to race with people like Gene Hustings, Mike Reedy, Ernie Privetti, Ken McDowell, Rick Davis, Buddy Bardos, tons of people. Who all popped up as we all graduated and migrated over to RC sometime in the late '70s and early '80s. I enjoyed being able to make the switch over to controlling something outside the slot, and started racing where you built the cars up pretty much from scratch when I started in '77-ish, '78 somewhere, just before the AE brought their new car out. But I've been going to Roar Nationals since the Fremont Nationals, which I believe was 1980. And so I've had a very fortunate chance out there meeting all the guys that are still around today and racing, and Bob Novak and Sean Ireland is still around, Kent Clausen, a bunch of those guys, Joel, Dieter, blah blah. So going through all that time, got sponsored, especially knowing all them through slot car days. And then living in Cleveland at the time, started the club up there called Norcar with Don Smolik. They had a hobby shop. And since Ken was a family friend as well as a sponsor and so forth, we started the Cleveland Indoor Champs in 1981, which is in April of '81. That was pretty successful, and we moved it over to the Thanksgiving weekend that year. And it's still going today. So it's pretty cool to see that happening. I've raced in the first Worlds when it was stock and modified back in Anaheim. I moved to Europe with no on-road. I'm not an off-road guy. I didn't get into off-road until a little while ago. Moved over to Europe in 1984, '85. And got to race primarily in Denmark, the Netherlands, Germany. I got to do a couple of European championships. That's where I got to be good buddies with Oscar and Jurgen and Christian Kyle and a bunch of other people. Came back here and moved back to the U.S., moved out to Anaheim here in '88, '89 timeframe. And then was playing with the old pan cars, mod pan cars, and had some success in '91 Norca Nationals, beat Rick Hort for the win on that one. '92 Worlds in Pomona. The only person I beat in the main, which I was pretty excited to be in the main, was Barry Baker. So that's my
Barry got 10th?
And then Barry got 10th. Yep.
Oh, man.
If you only knew Barry back then.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, I know you did. But I left about 12 years to run our manufacturing sales software consulting company, and then came back. Just couldn't stay away, you know how it goes. And started racing here at the old SoCal Raceway on-road again. And long story, but got involved with Tyree and Bob Novak, and then started working with them, making the switch from brush to brushless motors, and helped them do a lot of testing with the brushless motor thing. And ended up, I'll just jump ahead, I ended up going over to work when my buddy Bill Jarek was president of LOSI. They were looking for somebody to develop a line of RTR racing brushless speed controls and motors, and that was the old Accelerant line. And so I got to go over there and work. And that, I don't know the exact time frame I started there. I was there about 3 years. And got to work with some old on-road friends, Gil Losi and Senior and Junior, and Gary Kais, Todd, Dino, and all those guys over there. And came up with that. And after that, time to relax a little bit, and that's where I started racing off-road. And went over to a new track called OCRC after leaving Losi. Just was hanging out there, chilling out for 6 months or so, and met Danny Stojakovic of West Coast Raceway fame, and helped him put together West Coast Raceway, and partnered up with him and started Team Icon Racing, if anybody remembers that. And we had batteries, motors. Danny won a couple national titles with the motors, and unfortunately, after much success, West Coast Raceway dissolved, and I started Schuur Speed. And we've been lucky with Schuur Speed and enjoyed 6 national championships in the last 5 years, I think. And about 3 years ago, worked out a deal where I was the HobbyWing team manager after some discussions for about a year. And I get out and about to somewhere around 22 major events a year, and had a lot to do with input, design, testing, coordinating testing for the XR10 Pro and stock spec speed controls. So it's been quite a road. Now you know how old I am. So, and then where I started talking, the Schuur Speed came out with the V4 motor, which is our 4th generation, and that's the one we've been having great success with.
That's amazing.
What year was it that Novak came out with that brushless motor? It was was it like 2000?
With it for like.
All I remember is being at the Chicago Hobby Show. I was working for Trinity at the time, and it broke that Novak was there with a brushless motor, and all I know is I was having breakfast. The next thing I know, I was being called into a meeting about, hey, Novak's
Ernie?
Novak's here with a brushless motor, and we were just like, what? So it debuted at Chicago.
Well,
right?
all I know is that was announced in roughly 2000, but I think it was like 2 years or more later before it actually hit the market.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Ernie's a good friend of mine. Some may not think that, but I've raced for him on and off a couple times over the years, and like I said, when I raced slot cars, we've known each other since we were probably 14, 15 years old.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
Yeah. So we may have our little spats here and there and kick each other, but deep down we all have a little respect for each other.
Yeah.
I mean, since 14 years old is pretty incredible.
Yeah. It is really. When I was thinking about that when you called, Jason, I was like, holy crap, I'm way older than I think I am.
Well, I think it's just amazing, as you go along. Everybody, though, is how long when I say you, it's me, you, everybody, you've known these people in RC. It's like you were talking about Barry Baker, and when I first met him, I mean, it's like, it's over 20 years easily. And
I've been working with Bill Jarrett for over 30 years. I mean, I got him into the hobby.
It's not fun. It's insane.
So, it is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
So, I was going to ask you a question. Kind of going back, through the years. I was just going to talk about drivers for a second, and from the slot car days to 12 scale to the pan car days into when you started with off road. I mean, who stands? Who do you think kind of stands up top through those different generations of people that you saw during those days and really stand out to you as being the kings of those years and generations?
Well, slot cars that had a guy named, and he was actually a pretty good friend, Chan Limpaw.
Mm-hmm.
He was right up at the top. Buddy Bardos was very good back then when we ran. And then you had the New York Mafia guys, Ernie and Bob Emmett and Paul Gorski, and oh my gosh, I mean, I could go on. Then you had Joel Montague, and I mean, it's just bringing all kinds of memories back. But those guys were pretty dominant. 12 scale, and I think having to race against and be around and watch Masami develop was pretty awesome. Looking backwards, I think Tony Neisinger back in his day was right there. I mean, there's a lot of people that come to mind. I mean, Joel was obviously right there. You got Kent, who won the first Worlds. Art Carbonell. I mean, that was some formidable stuff. Mike Lavico. There was some in that time frame. Those guys were pretty darn quick. And Ralphie. I mean, the first race we started when Ken and I started the Cleveland Indoor Champs at the Cleveland was it Brook Park Armory or something. We had Ralphie come up, and his dad had to come because he was too young to travel by himself. So, I mean, watching him through the years, too, has also been pretty exciting and rewarding. Yeah. Haven't thought about that for a while, Jason.
Yeah, it's amazing, the people and then the guys that stand out.
Yeah. I mean, when I got to race in Europe, I mean, Jurgen was no slouch back in the day. Oscar was a terror to race against. I mean, those two guys would run you right down. I mean, Constance Paul back in the day. I mean, he was pretty darn quick, too. And with Phil Booth over in England, I mean, there's a lot of guys who were pretty darn quick. And racing over there with them, I'll tell you, I never had so much fun going to races as I was going with them, the way they did it over there.
Really?
Oh, it was a blast. It was so much fun.
What do you think was special or different about it versus how it was being done here?
The races were a little bit, well, I'll just say, I think they were much more organized even back then. I mean, we'd show up a Friday, and there was a program that, I mean, it was like click, 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 click. This happened, and so on. But I think the part besides racing is we would go to a venue, and over there at the time, typically you would stay in the hall somewhere. They'd have places with cots or whatever. You'd roll out a sleeping bag. So everybody, it was like one party the whole weekend. I mean, everybody was there. Everybody was serious when we raced. And then when the racing was over, I mean, you might hear a pop of a beer or two and whatever else. And we just had a great time. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah. And even when we were in hotels, I mean, it was just like a big group. We all had a great time. Morning time racing started again, but it was a lot of fun. I had a blast over there racing.
And how long were you over there?
I was over there for just under 4 years and raced for about three and a half of them.
Okay. And then you mentioned when you came back over here, you ran some pan car stuff. And
yeah, we're running 10-scale pan car. Correct.
Yeah, and you made the A at the Worlds there at the ranch. I didn't get to go to that race. I know Paul went, and I know he had a blast. What was that, 92?
Correct.
I think 92, right? What stands out to you about that race? Because I think there was like a 12 scale Worlds that happened a little before that, right?
Well, the 12 scale Worlds were in 82 was the first one in Anaheim, and then 2 years later, 84 was in Herning, Denmark. I think that was the next one in Singapore when Chris Dosick won. Chris was fast in the day too. 88 was that was when I was over in Europe and I didn't travel to the world. I think it may have been in Michigan.
Okay.
Can't recall. Then when I came back, I was running pan car because 12 scale out here was not. I mean, we ran some carpet 12 scale and had a blast, but pan car on the 10 scale pan car out at the ranch pit shop was just awesome. I just couldn't stay away. That was too much fun. For the 92 Worlds, what stands out is we had a great time. I worked with Tyree Phillips, and Tyree had an idea for a front end on a car. And I think TRC actually put it into production after the race, but there was 3 people that had one of those front ends on their car, and that was Mike Blackstock, who TQ'd. Tyree, I think, was third qualifier. Joel was second, I believe. Or maybe Tyree was fourth. And then I qualified, I think,
right.
ninth or 10th. And so it was pretty neat to help develop that and have all 3 of that setup make the main event.
Yeah. So you spent a lot of time out at the ranch, I assume, and you were able to kind of get dialed in?
Yeah, we started with a rough idea when I did so well at the Norca Nationals. We had a prototype back working then, and then Tyree just refined it, and then we got it really working by going there. Yeah, and I worked with Andy Jacobson from Andy's Bodies, and I saw just recently he's found those molds, got those molds back, whatever happened, and some of the bodies we used from back then he's making again. So but we worked with him and developed different little body shapes for different type tracks and long tails, short tails. We did a lot of crazy stuff, I guess, looking backwards, and all paid off. We were pretty quick. And,
yeah. What was the hot body from Andy's? Was it the Mercedes? Was that the one that everybody ran?
We ran the Nissan at that time.
Okay.
Mercedes was just after that one, shortly after. So we were running the long tail Nissan, and then we flipped between that and the short tail. Okay. I liked the short tail. I didn't like the long tail. I just remember it felt too stuck. It didn't rotate well enough.
And at that race, that was a big deal because 10 scale was getting really popular, or it was at its peak, and then all of a sudden there was a Worlds for it, and then for many years I think Joel ran the associated cars, or mostly, and then Trinity decided to make a car, right?
Correct. I don't remember the name, if that was Reflex or what have you, but yeah, they did make a car. And
maybe Gotti was around a little bit.
You had a Reflex 10? Is that what it was?
I did not, but I think it was the Reflex, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, how many people know that Gil was involved with Losey, or Gil Losey was involved building the AE pan cars, and that's why the L on the 12L and 10L and all that.
Yeah, I learned that once, yes.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I know, it's nuts, isn't it? Especially back then, like Losey Associated were like, at war kind of, and then you find out that
off-road
Losey,
side especially.
Right, yeah, on off-road, and then you find out Losey Jr. was part of that design of the 12s. It's like, wow.
I had dinner with him a couple weeks back, and he goes, man, I sure would like to come up. I've got a 12 scale in my head that I'd like to develop.
Oh.
I was like, oh boy.
Oh man.
So everything comes full circle, I guess.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, but
it's interesting.
Yeah, living out here is pretty good.
When I looked at, or when I've watched some videos and some stuff with Gene Husting, stuff that he had, and I want to say that he mentioned in the video about the deal with Gil Losi Jr. and, you know, them putting the L on that 12L and that type of thing. It was because of the T-bar. I think the actual T-bar setup was part of his design,
I can't tell you the exact thing that was different, but he put a different twist on it that did kind of revolutionize what was going on at the time.
Yeah, and I think in the video it mentioned something to the effect that I want to say that Gene asked Gil what he wanted, you know, for being involved in that design and everything. And something to the effect that Gene said he ended up buying him like a big radio stereo system or something. That's what he said he wanted, or that was what was on the video.
Wow.
He was like, yeah, Gene was just asking him, hey, you know, your contribution to this, you know, what are you looking for, and you know, what would you like? And it was something like, you know, he ended up getting him this big stereo system. That's what he wanted, which is just kind of funny, but
it was a little simpler apparently back then.
Yeah, not as many demands.
I'll tell you, knowing Gene and Mike and all of them, and they were some awesome guys. And what they did for our hobby that's still going today is pretty phenomenal. And you can say a lot of things about many people, but, you know, Gene he had a lot of intuition, foresight, whatever you want to call it. And he sat down, you know, he pretty much got Roar rolling, and you know, on Mike's support, those two guys were very instrumental in making all this stuff happen that we're enjoying today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was definitely very nice to see. I mean, I was fortunate because I kind of saw them, or, you know, I was involved with them. It was towards the later years, but, you know, you were there from the beginning, you know. But yeah, definitely we're always very good.
That doesn't sound good, Jason. I was there from the beginning.
Yeah, but, you know, there's something to be said for that, right? Not everybody can say that.
No, I mean, those are two great men in our industry, and I can say they were friends and be very happy and proud about that.
So then, kind of, you know, talk to us a little bit. I know it's something kind of curious. I want to see your angle on it. I know Paul had his information and running that, going back to the 92 Worlds, about the batteries and motor wars in those days. Do you remember?
It was more intense than now.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, I know Paul, when he raced it, you know, there was a big battery war there, and you know, things that, you know, most people couldn't explain, and that had a lot to do with the weight of the batteries and that type of thing. But, what was the situation?
I don't know if I can recall the entire thing, but I mean, similar to today, we talk about weight of the lipos. Well, weight of the cells we were using at Worlds. I mean, the more denser the cell, the more chemical or juice, whatever you want to call it, could produce power. And I don't remember if we were doing it then or not, but I remember we used to have little tools we made where we could dope the cells and get them to go a little bit faster and pop the vents open and squirt stuff in them and all kinds of crazy stuff. But at that race, I was lucky enough to have the I think it was a Panasonic P170. They were purple.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that ended up to be the cell at that particular time, and the batteries I knew was very, very sensitive to date code of when they were produced.
Yeah.
And the stars aligned, and the guys that were running the P170s, they had probably a tick of an advantage. But yeah, Sanyo was big into racing at that time. I mean, they sponsored the U.S. team at the Worlds, and they were trying to get in it. And there was a couple other players, but it was primarily Sanyo and Panasonic, as I recall. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. And what we did charging them, and I don't remember what we did at all. I know is, one time while I was in my consulting business, I went down to Sanyo down here in Mexicali, and I had a meeting with them about systems and so forth. And the engineering guys were there, and I said, "Hey, you guys remember building batteries or anything for RC cars?" And the guy goes, "Oh yeah, do you know that Ernie Pavetti guy?" And I just started laughing. And then he goes, where I was going with this is he goes, "What you guys did to those batteries, they should have blown up in your face."
Wow.
And I'm chuckling right now because that's what a lot of people say we do to lipos too. So, but yeah, we had a funny conversation down there with about all that.
Jeez.
But no, the 92 Worlds, it was probably the peak of the 10 scale mod pan car racing. It was crazy competitive.
Yeah.
I remember going out to the ranch on just a weekly basis, and there'd be over 100 people running.
Yeah. I loved 10 scale pan car. Out of all the pan cars I've been, that was my favorite.
It was fun.
It was,
I still have my Worlds car. I've still got my Worlds car pretty much as it was off the track. I've got the car Mike Blackstock ran. I've got a lot of stuff from that time period because after that race, I promised my wife that I'd quit racing for a while and focus on the business. And I've got 2 little plastic trunk container type things sitting in the garage that I have not opened since that race. So I'm waiting for some day to just sit down and pop that open and go, holy crap, this is like a time machine.
Damn.
We need a photo of yours in Blackstock's car. That'd be killer.
That'd be awesome to put up with the show notes.
I'll try and I'll dig them up. I know where they're at, but they're not easily gotten right now.
Yeah, that would be cool. That was it was just an epic race, and then Trinity having the car at that race. And do you remember anything about the Trinity pan car? Or Joel ended up winning the race, but do you remember any stories about that?
Yes and no. I'm not enough to say anything particular, but they worked hard at that race. Nothing comes easy, and I remember they worked very hard at it as well. Joel was always drove very smooth and like Joel did. So he's a tough cookie. He's one of the top drivers too. Unfortunately, they never beat Masami, but the way it goes.
Yeah, I never quite got over that hump, right?
The timing just didn't work.
So moving into the new generation here with the Schuur Speed stuff and HobbyWing, what's going on with Schuur Speed lately? And tell everyone kind of what you're most involved with and on that side.
Right now, trying to get the V4s, the name out there, and so forth. We debuted them in March, excuse me, at the Desert Classic in Chandler, Arizona. Hobby Action, with great new place, and had fantastic results. I think we had 8 out of 10 cars in both expert classes, and we had a lot in the others. And if I remember right, I don't have it in front of me, but I think we took the top 6 or 7 spots in both mains. So that was a pretty nice start to to the madness. And with the stock nats recently, if we slide Spencer, Dakota, and Dustin off to the side, we were right behind them. You know, I told the guys, I told Ron Duvall, I told Jake, and a couple of the other guys, Wayne. I said, "Man, you guys were first, second, and third in class." So, and in the sportsmen, we dominated. I mean, we swept all the podiums. So it's still going well. It's the new generation motor. With you know, a lot less steel in the stator than we've ever had before, and it's just a different breed motor, and they just require a little different. And I've just been working with people to make sure that they work across the platforms, and so I can give guidance to shops that resell them or whoever, so that people have a good experience. And we're getting ready to go this week up to Washington, up to Tacoma.
Yep, and you'll be up there supporting everybody in the all the classes, but specifically the stock. And then we obviously have the independent class this year too. So there's a lot of stock and 13.5 racing going, right?
Yeah, I was on the phone with the guys today. They're already running on the track and so forth, and it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking for. I love going up to that place. I don't know what it is. I just have a good time. Scott Brown runs a great program. Has a nice place going on there, and it's just a great environment. It's just fun to be up there.
I was looking at the entries for, I believe it was that race. And then, you know, fast forwarding a little bit to Hobby Action's race, but the entries in 13.5 and 17.5 are just tremendous. And
yeah,
I think the one that surprised me even more was 13.5 four-wheel, how big that looked.
That's getting really big. Around here, that's been huge for a while. I mean, my home track's pretty much OCRC, and sometimes there'll be up to 3 heats on a club night, and there's always 2. So I mean, I wasn't too surprised to see that. But I think when we get over to Hobby Action again in July, I think it's going to be even more. I think that race is all sold out already, I believe, but it's really big over there.
It is. Yeah, it is. And you know, looking at we kind of got the 13.5 truck class going now, and I noticed it's also looks well registered for in Tacoma, and I assume it'll be at Hobby Action also.
I'd have to assume it. I was real impressed with up at Tacoma. They've got a ton of people in it. It's a really big class again. And I mean, the new AE truck is not really out. I mean, there's not only a few select drivers have them. I think that's correct. So that's not
I think they just started shipping.
Correct.
Yeah, people were.
It's a lot of excitement there.
Yeah, people were signed up for it before even the new trucks were out, and I assume, I mean, if he's able to get a shipment of those things, and you know, people are going to be building them just for the race.
Well, yeah. The problem is that I don't think they had room, or there was some. I don't know. I was just listening to the guys this morning. They were trying to borrow, and steal trucks to run in that class.
Yeah. Borrow,
and of course, motors and speed controls.
So we'll talk a little bit about HobbyWing, what you're doing over there, and obviously you've had similar success. A lot of guys that run Schuur Speed also run HobbyWing, but what's going on there, and the latest, greatest, and what's got us excited about HobbyWing?
HobbyWing is it's a fun company to work with. I've really enjoyed helping get the team started up and working with the guys and developing the team and bringing new people on. And so forth has been rewarding. But the part that I wasn't really focusing on that I kind of knew was happening, but the impact it had on the sales side of HobbyWing is either coincidental, but I love it because it looks like we're doing great stuff, and I think we are because their position in the market's quite strong right now, and it just keeps getting stronger and stronger. And I'll share that the little stock spec speed control, that little tiny one, that was pretty much kind of one of those things where I almost had to put my reputation on the line to get them to produce it because they didn't think it would sell. And I finally got them to agree to produce it. And the first run was like 200 units. And HobbyWing North America, located here in LA, ordered 400 to start with. So we were behind 200 right off the bat. And to this day, they're barely able to keep up with it. So that kind of stuff. But the team has really enabled HobbyWing to get on the map. And HobbyWing is a wide company, and I deal with the surface stuff, the cars, the buggies, and so forth. But I think it's helped them all the way across their boating line and all the aircraft and crawling, and we've got a new speed control system coming out for the crawlers. And everybody, I think, knows Charlie Schwanka, and he works with works with HobbyWing. And he takes care of all the drone and that side, and he's doing an equally good job. And I think all the cylinders are clicking for HobbyWing. And everybody's in a good mood, so it's a fun place to be around. And we're continuing to grow on that. We just released new software for the XR10 family. It took us a little while to get some stuff the way everybody liked, and it's out now and available. And we ran it. Most all of us ran it at StockNats, and people were real happy with it. It's got some fixes in it, some new functions. So it was worth the wait. But it hasn't stopped there. I mean, I've got a couple prototypes of the next generation that I'm working on now, and it's going to be a while before we see that. By a while, I mean I think it'll be more than 6 months. But they've surprised me before, so. And I think it's going to be another step forward that's pretty exciting. So working with them, and we've been picking up and working with the modified guys. Max and Brayton Staub is running our modified stuff, and I don't mean to slam anybody, but those two guys came to mind, and they're doing a good job. And Max and Drayton will be up at Tacoma, so I get to see them and work with them up there. But that's been fun. Their new G3 motor and modifieds working very well. They're a little hard to get right now. I don't know. For those wondering, I don't know what the holdup is. I know we're all looking for them, though. The team guys are struggling to get them. I have to fight to get some. So, but it's fun. Everything's clicking. It's working really well. I mean, we've got some new stuff coming. I think everybody all up and down the line from 12 scale to 8 scale is going to be happy.
Yeah, and then kind of talking a little bit about 8 scale. What do you think's going on that side of things? We got e-buggies and e-truggies, and how is that side of the business?
It's very strong. We're doing very well, I think, in that side of the business. From the numbers that are sold versus the number of people I see racing, I think a lot of it doesn't go to the racing world. But we're also doing very well in the racing world. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have used it until their companies got their products reliable and working or what have you. And I don't think we lose anything. I think it's the last release of stuff where we have the chip in the motor so that the speedo and the motor are talking. And an 8 scale, we can run full censored all the way through. That's been the performance out of that's pretty amazing. And it's really showing up. I've had the opportunity. We have a new track out here, a new on-road track called Steel City Raceway, located at the Fontana Speedway track, or Auto Club Speedway.
I've seen
and
that.
It's
amazing.
Big, beautiful track. And we're starting to be running 8 scale pan cars, or on-road cars, I should say. And
right.
The electric
so it's like it's an 8 scale nitro car, but turned into an E car.
Well, but they're building now. They're starting to specialize a little bit more and lean them a little bit more toward electric. And a couple of the guys that I've seen them, and man, are they quick! So
they got to be amazing.
Something else. Yeah, I mean I've seen the mod sedans up there, and going down the big long back straightaway, they'll pass that nitro car.
Yeah.
But they lose a little bit slowing down for the corners and getting going there. So, but down the straightaway, the mod sedan is wicked fast.
Yeah, they just had the Nationals, down in Florida. They had the touring car on-road Nationals. Kind of not a great turnout, but, they're not really known for their turnouts at that particular event. But I know Paul mentioned that he was down there racing, and, there was a couple battles they had with some guys running some nitro cars, for a straightaway speed. And he said that, I want to say, was it Ralphie? Who was it that was running? Anyway, the touring car was faster than the 1/8 scale nitro car.
Yeah. Randy Castro was out at the California Speedway, and he had a 3.5 turned up with boost and turbo, I guess, everything. And I wasn't there, unfortunately, but he was just smoking them. So I don't know. It's the 8 scale electric. I think that could be pretty exciting because a lot of the guys would like to do nitro, the same as an off-road, but the limiting factor is you have to have a pit man. In the electric, you don't need that pit guy, so you're a little more independent. So that's going to be an exciting thing to see how it goes.
Yeah, it is. Right now there's not a lot of manufacturers, right, that make sort of an 8 scale electric on-road car, right?
I'm only aware of Capricorn, Serpent, and there's another one that I'm failing to mention, but not only because I can't remember. But there's 3 of them that are making electric 8 scale on-road. I think that will grow. I heard X-Ray's working on one, or maybe they've come out with it. So I think that could be something that grows. I don't know. Have to keep an eye on it. I'd love to have one. I just don't have time to play.
I hear you. There's some amazing classes that I'd definitely like to race. But like you said, definitely not easy.
I'm signed up to run the Reedy race 2 days after we get back from Tacoma. And right now I'm sitting at the desk here, and I've got a box of parts and all the components needed to build the car before I leave for Tacoma so I can come back and race at the Reedy race.
Hey, perfect. So you're going to run... Exactly. What classes do they have there now at Reedy?
Oh, man.
Obviously they have the invite. Then they have... I remember last year... Yep, Spencer ran open mod last year.
Correct.
And then they have...
Go ahead.
Like a 17.5, right?
Last year there was 13.5 and 17.5. This year it drops from mod to 17.5, and I'm quite certain it's a 21.5 class.
Okay.
But I mean, with the new motors, geez, I mean, the 17.5s from this year or from last year or so are faster than the 13.5s previously were, and the 21.5s are faster than the old 17.5s from a year or so ago. So it sounds like they'd be slower, but the lap times and stuff I've heard from testing are faster than mod was like 5 years ago. So,
Pretty insane.
yeah.
I mean, I drove.
Too fast.
I ran e-buggy over the weekend, and yeah, I mean, for the main, I geared up 2 teeth. Paul was like begging me. He's like, you need to gear this thing up, and it needed to be geared up. But I mean, when we did that, we went up 2 teeth, and I ran the main. I was just like, this thing is unbelievable. Like, it was so fast, I couldn't even drive it.
One interesting fact is the electric buggies. I mean, that was one of the things that we designed it before anybody had them. That was one of the things I worked on at Losi, is the 8-scale Speedo motor system, and worked with the car. And I left before, I think it may have just gone to production around the time I was leaving. So that was a lot of fun working with them. And the motors that are being run in the on-road now are what we tried in off-road. And I mean, we had a 3,000 kV motor, and I remember on 4SL, that thing would literally blow the tires off the wheel.
That's amazing. What's so kind of moving forward here? What's up for you? You got Tacoma, you mentioned, that's coming this week, but what else do you have after that?
Reedy race 2 days after I get back. Then going up to Victorville to Coyote Hobbies for their yearly event up there. First week of June, so the next 3 weeks we're busy. And then end of June, I'm going back to Knoxville, Tennessee to Smoky Mountain Raceway for some, and I don't know exactly what all the classes are. I haven't looked at the flyer close enough, but it's an oval race, and the place is just beautiful. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting back there and seeing my oval friends, and I'll be down there the end of the month, the end of June. I come back, I think, 2nd or something of July. And then I think July is the 4x4 and the e-buggy nationals back in Omaha. So I'll be back there. And then before we know it, we're back in Arizona for the nationals for 10-scale buggy.
Good. And I think we got a bunch of good questions here for you, and I think Gotti was going to kind of look those up and read up a couple good questions, and then we can satisfy everybody's needs.
Yeah, hopefully we haven't put anybody to sleep yet with all this old boy stuff.
No, they love the stuff, the old school stuff, man, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, you could do a whole nother thing on the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Like, you could just go and people would just love it.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, it was a fun time. It was a fun time to be able to be there. So fire away there.
Yeah, we got one here from Javier Anea. He wants to say, first, thanks for helping in tuning my stock motor last year at OCRC Surf City race. It was super cool that you took the time out to do that for me. Considering you have great power systems with line of Schuur Speed motors and HobbyWing electronic speed controls, do you see yourself or HobbyWing getting into the servo/lipo market in the future?
First off, thanks a lot. I mean, when I'm at a race, it doesn't have to be a team guy. It's anybody that's got a Schuur Speed motor, I sit down with them and work with them and get it going and clean them up and fix them for them. As far as HobbyWing,
even if it's not a Schuur Speed motor, he works on it.
Yeah. Ask Spencer about that last week.
Yeah.
Anyway, Yeah, I kind of shot myself helping those guys. That's all right though. Getting into the servo market, I don't know what everything HobbyWing's working on, so I can't really commit or comment, I should say, on the direction of servos. Batteries, it's a difficult market. Tons and tons and tons of liability. HobbyWing has a relationship overseas with Sunpadao, I think it's called. And over here in the U.S., we've got a relationship with Intellect America. And I see us over here, myself, I'm growing that and working with them to introduce them to the HobbyWing team. But as far as HobbyWing branded product, I don't see batteries in the future. And servos, I just don't know.
We have another question here from Kyle Jeffries. He says, what do you look for in a great stock off-road motor? If you are starting out with a motor that is complete unknown, how do you go about determining where the timing should be set?
Wow. Haven't done too much of that recently, but what do I look for? The only tool that I have my total faith in and feel naked trying to do anything, if I don't have one of my motorizers in front of me, I struggle to really do a good job in finding and setting up a good motor. That being said, what do I look for? I look for the phase currents. I watch I like to know what the real effective timing is, and I sound like a walking Motorizer commercial, but Motorizer is the only one that presents the effective running accurate timing. It also shows you each phase, but it also shows you the effective actual as the motor's running, and that's really important. But between the phase currents and timing, I kind of start out a little conservative, and to find a motor, or even our motor with different drivers, because each driver runs a little different, I watch lap times. I don't care who I have running the motor, if they're world class or just the average guy at the track. Most of them, if they tell you it was good or bad, the lap times don't lie. And so I go off lap times, and I try not to overtime a motor, because overtiming has got negative effects real quick. I'd rather have a little undertimed than overgeared. I don't know if that doesn't really answer it a whole lot, but that's kind of how I would approach it.
Okay.
Ron would have been laughing when a few years back when I went and ran the Vintage Nationals, and we were allowed to use brushless equipment in the RC10s, but it had to be a 17.5, and I don't ever run 17.5. I had no idea what I was doing. I got my program box. I got stuff for the speed control, and I'm looking at people. People are like, "Oh, you should do this." And I'm like, "How do you do that?" I'm trying, and I'm like turning the timing up on the motor. They're like, "You gotta turn the timing up." I go, "Okay, I'll turn the timing up." I turn it up, and it's like, then the whole thing doesn't even run. I'm like, "Oh, that must be too far."
Yep.
Then someone's like, "Well, you go till it doesn't go anymore, till it doesn't work, and then you go a little bit below that." Oh, okay.
Yeah. Me and
Alex. Okay.
There you go. When people ask me about using amp draw, and amp draw is probably better than a lot of little analyzers that are floating around, but I liken it to trying to use a 4-inch paintbrush and say go pinstripe. It gets you very close, but I don't feel it's the ultimate. So, but back on setting up motors and so forth, with the way things have progressed, you've got, not only do you have to have a good motor, and I see this a lot when I'm dealing with my customers or at the track trying to help somebody that's struggling. It takes three things to go fast in stock. You've got to have a good battery, you've got to have a decent speed control or a good speed control, and then the good motor. And I may even add a fourth. If you've got the good battery, you have to have the equipment to properly charge it. Yeah, and you got to understand what battery you have to know how you should charge that battery's chemistry.
Oh boy.
Because, oh boy, correct. It's not so much that you have to have all the bling on the car. It's more make sure all three of those pieces are working, because you can have the best speed control and the best motor and the best gearing setup and everything. But if you don't have your battery package in order, you're going to get beat. So,
if you can't drive. Thing. Yeah.
Well, that's me. I can't drive anymore, but I sure have fun breaking them.
Yeah. We have a question here from John Bolton. He says, when do you see wireless tuning of electronic speed controls and motors during a race becoming a norm? Example is, your setup is for high bite, but the track slicks off. Quick tap on the radio, and a slick track setup is changed.
Actually, that technology is here, and HobbyWing could have that ability quickly. However, all the organizations, that's banned, and I think it's banned for a good reason. I don't think we need racing is too complex now. I mean, you almost need to have a chassis engineering degree and electronics degree and whatever else, but it's too complex right now. We're scaring people away. So why do we want to bring telemetry into it and all the on-the-fly stuff? I remember, maybe I'm old-fashioned there, but I don't think we need to introduce that. I think it's great for when you're out practicing, but when it comes time to race, I don't think it should be active.
I'm definitely old-fashioned there.
Okay. Well, here's a question from Joe Zaire. He says, will HobbyWing be able to catch up in the stock motor game, or are they pushing for Roar to make stock and 13.5 fixed timing like the old brush days?
Okay. How many hours we got here?
Hey, you got as much time as you want. I'm about, yeah. Go ahead. We go up to midnight. Go ahead.
Okay. This is an interesting and, to me, a very deep question. I think right now, with what's going on with motors, I'm here in the U.S., and it's really hard to keep up with what's going on in motor rules and so forth. And a lot of the companies outside the U.S., which HobbyWing is, and they can't possibly keep up with it because things aren't documented rapidly. There's lots of notes, and you got to know where to go on this website within Roar or that website. And honestly, I think it's kind of a mess right now. And I would say that HobbyWing and some of these other companies are behind. I think they've chosen not to get caught up in it because it's a very expensive game to play, and in trying to keep up with what's going on right now. And until we get some solid rules or reevaluate the rules, I think that's a problem for the companies that are even racing today. I mean, I talked to a lot of the different manufacturers, and I don't think we're not doing anybody a favor. Anybody favors with what we're running today. These new generation motors are very fast. They're also very delicate, and I think without going a whole lot deeper, and I think the rules need to be reevaluated and more favorable back to the consumer side, to where motors will last a year, 2 years, maybe even longer, if they so desire to have that. We've got to get away from the constantly changing rules. I think we're hurting our racing. And I'm not saying that so much as Schuur Speed. I'm just saying that as an enthusiast. I think we're hurting racing overall. with all these motors and changing, and then everybody's got, there's people out there selling $200 quote tuned motors, and I just don't see it being good. But back to the question, I think some of the companies just are sitting back waiting to see if things stabilize. And that was as short as I can keep that one.
Justin Doyle asked, he has two questions here. First, we discussed your career already, but he wanted to know, as far as starting a business, what mindset or skills would it take for someone starting one today? Can it be done, and is it harder?
Oh, I don't know if it's harder than before. The one thing that I would say, he to make it work, he's going to need a lot of money to start.
What's that saying, Jason? you need to, if you want to make $1 million, you need to start with two.
Or more. More.
It's man. Yeah,
Something
keep
like
talking
that.
and I'll remember.
Yeah.
I'll remember.
I think, Justin's question there is interesting because it kind of goes along with what I was just saying. I mean, to start a motor company up right now, I think you'd have to be freaking nuts. Because it's too volatile, and if you're not immersed in it and have grown up with it a little bit, I mean, it's a jungle out there right now, and again, that's why I think some of these companies are sort of sitting back watching what's going on. But to enter a market that is in the stage of such as the motors are right now, man, I would make them a nice sweet deal on Schuur Speed and help them along the way. But I think it'd be very tough. It's tough I don't want to get out. I was joking, but it's not something that you make a lot of money at. You better love it and be passionate about the hobby. I'm fortunate that I'm retired, and this is just I'm having a great time and enjoying my passion. And otherwise, I don't think I'd do this for a family.
Oh, all right. Part 2 of his question was, you travel a lot. Truly amazed by the track support. You're everywhere. What are a few tracks you recommend everyone must travel to once?
You got to go to OCRC. That's just the vibe at that place and the things that go on and the quality of people that run it. I mean, Jake and Nick, they're just class acts and a lot of fun. The track's superb. The facility is nice. It's in a great location. That'd be number one. Hobby action. Chandler, Arizona, outside Phoenix. Another place. Got to go. Larry Tom's got a fantastic facility there. Again, perfect location. Everything's right around the place. You jump out, I think, where we're going this weekend, Tacoma. That's another place I would go to. Recommend people go to. I think that's a really good place. Scott Brown's got an awesome place going there. Jump over to the Midwest. I think I'd have to put on the map the Hobbyplex in Omaha, Nebraska. Alex Sturgeon does a fantastic job back there, and that place is always busy. And when he runs a race, it's right up there. He does a great job with them. So that would be another one. Although I have not been there, I hear great things about Trackside. I think Jamie and the crew up there have done a good job, and I'm on my schedule, I think, for later this year to go up there. I know somebody's going to get upset, but the Beach RC, another one. The old Speed RC, I love that place. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore. Oh man, there's some nice places. I mean, we're fortunate. SDRC down in San Diego. That's a nice place down there too. I mean, Unfortunately, they have a big race this weekend, the JBRL series, and we won't be in town. Otherwise, I'd be down there. But that's another place good to go to. Man, there's a lot of places, but those are probably some of the top that come to my mind. And I know I've missed somebody, but there's a lot of good places around.
Pretty impressive list.
Yeah.
Chris Trudell says, as a motor guy, current brushless motors versus brush motors from the 80s and 90s, which was better and why? And pros and cons of each.
Brush motors were a little bit less expensive, but you needed more of them. The work you had to put into maintaining the brush motor is a con. The brushless motors do require some maintenance, but for the most part are more consistently good and producing power. And right now they're way faster than the brush counterparts, which I don't know if is completely a good thing. I would vote for a brushless any day over a brushed motor right now.
Yeah.
It's just so much work. I mean, the equipment I had to go around, I mean, you truly did need to carry a magnet zapper or have one available. I remember all the comb cutting tools and brush contouring tools I used to have, and springs and brushes. I mean, it was much more of a nightmare. I'd go brushless hands down.
Kids today don't know how good they have it.
No. I mean, when it was with brushed motors, we used to run back to the pit after marshalling, and you better hope your car was good because you had to rip the motor out and start, tearing it apart to chew the comm and do all the voodoo with brushes and maybe change compound springs. I mean, oh my gosh, it was a nightmare.
Jeez.
Jason, you remember that?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. Mm-hmm.
Second part of Chris's question, he says, be honest, is there really such thing as a stock motor? Not all brushless motors are created equal, right?
Well, true, because the specifications are not spec. So stock motor, what we call a stock motor today, let's just say 17.5. I mean, my stator is different than other people's stators, who's different than others. So there's, the stator design is key to how they perform. There's also different sensors used. I mean, the list goes on, and how well they're built. But for the most part, I would say we're running spec motors, not stock motors. And we need to get more spec in them. We've ventured a little bit too far away from spec and some of what's happening right now, in my opinion. We need to rein that back in. But we're racing spec motors more than stock motors. What was the other part of that?
No, I think I got it. That was a two-part question, so
okay.
Yeah, we got
it.
Right. This person here says, doesn't have a question, but he says, hey, I know that guy. And that was from Mike Boylan.
Oh, boy. Oh, Mike.
Sure you got some stories with Mike, right? Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't know who he is, really.
Oh, okay.
No,
See that, Mike?
He likes apple pie with the cinnamon. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right, this is
another
question.
That's another reason to go to Tennessee at the end of June.
Ah, all right. We'll have to make note of that.
Yeah.
This person here wants to know, what is your favorite airport?
Oh, Charlie.
Oh, okay, you guessed it. All right, I was gonna throw the name in there at the end for you.
I talked to him earlier.
So okay. So yeah, there you go. Answer this for anybody, listeners out there. Favorite airport?
Love Palm Springs Airport. Love going in and out. I can show up 15, 20 minutes before my flight and still have to wait 10 minutes at the gate.
Oh, Okay. Favorite rental car?
Pretty nice. Favorite rental car? I don't know.
Is there an inside joke there with the rental cars?
Well, I've been known to be kind of tough on them, but I've calmed down significantly recently.
Oh man, favorite at the track foodery?
Oh, there's a place in Pennsylvania that I didn't get to go to this year, and it is Bumps and Jumps.
Okay. Yep.
Outside of Harris. You know where that one's at?
Yeah, it's about an hour south of me. Yep.
That place, they have a honest to God chef in that place, and I am so glad that I don't race there a lot. But the food is just awesome there, and you don't have to leave the track. That's by far and above the best place to get food.
Dang.
At the track.
I might have to just go down there for the food.
I
could take the missus out to eat there, right?
I don't know if I'd go that far. Unless she's done something, unless there's some questionable things there, I don't know, but may not be totally impressed. But for racing, much better than most fast food around we go to.
All right. Well, it would be an upgrade over Burger King, I'm sure, that I usually take her to. All right.
Then yes, she'll love it.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite place to eat when on the road?
Yeah. Seems like we end up at Longhorn, Outback.
Yes, Longhorn.
DJ's, Applebee's. And then, depending, Jason's sidekick, Thomas Tran, we usually try to disappear and find some kind of Thai restaurant somewhere. And that's always an adventure in many ways.
Yeah, you guys are good at finding a new restaurant when we're on the road. Yeah. The one thing I've noticed about Thomas is he's not super picky. He'll go anywhere. He always gets something different, and I'm just like, man, I'm so envious. I would never do that.
I'm pretty crazy too. I mean, I'll eat anything that doesn't bite back, pretty much.
Wow.
Dang.
Okay.
At least I'll try it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Here's one from Pete Phillips. Would Ron be willing to join the campaign to force RC companies into making more 4XL and 5XL shirts? Asking for a friend.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Although, hopefully, if things keep moving in the right direction for myself, I won't be needing them in. But I still wouldn't want to deny the more aerodynamic of my friends' shirts.
I think I'm all caught up on the questions, Jason.
Okay.
There's one thing you brought up that I didn't really address, and you brought up the fixed timing thing and HobbyWing wanting to push fixed timing. Fixed timing is not the end all that I think some of our listeners might be thinking it is, because excuse me. Even with fixed timing, there's a lot involved to make them equal. Like we signed up with, or HobbyWing signed up to sponsor and supply motors to Scotty's events in Las Vegas, IIC, IOCC, the on-road and off-road. And last year I invested probably, I bet it was a good 70 hours in those motors to make them perform equally.
Wow.
And we had a lot of classes I had to do, a number of motors. It was a little over 100 motors, but that's not an easy task when they're fixed timing. I mean, the only way you can adjust them is put them together, run them, tear them apart, adjust them, put them together. And some motors take 4 or 5 times to get them to where you want them. Because there's no screws adjustment. You got to either heat stuff up, twist stuff, do things like that. So there's a cost to get the motors to run equally, unless you want to go to a higher end motor where there's more QC done. But when the dilemma I see coming at people, and there's a new organization that's trying to do good things too that I won't mention by name, but there's a big push that says, oh, let's go to fixed timing. It's going to be so cheap. But to go with the less expensive motor and get down to a $25 to $45 motor, you're not going to be running the motors that we're selling today because the components in them just will not allow that price to be met. So there's got to be a rethink or a thought rethink there from the base that says I'm not going to be running as fast. Now, I don't think that's necessarily bad. It's just you can't get a motor that's selling today for, I don't know, 100 and let's just say $100. Well, it's going to be pretty hard to find somebody that's going to say, oh yeah, well, I'll sell that for $30 now. I mean, if they want a company such as Schuur Speed or HobbyWing to be involved, and you want them to run equally at a fixed timing and so forth, there's a lot of background work that has to be done at the back end after they're made to get them to run right, or it's got to be all done at the factory. But either way, there's a cost associated to make that happen. So what that means is to get the cost down to those prices, the material has to be much cheaper. Because they don't need to be as good, because you're going to be, getting a motor at this race, you're going to be getting a motor at that race. So there's I don't know if that's the light at the end of the shiny tunnel or whatever you want to call it. I just wanted to throw that out there. I think the general idea is very sound, and that's why I mentioned earlier we need to get back to a more spec motor. And by spec, I mean, I think we're better off having adjustable timing motors. I think what we need to get back to is more of a spec stator, a spec rotor, a spec sensor, and put some solid limits on it. And then let the Schuur Speeds and the HobbyWings and so forth put the pizzazz around them to make them be cooler or what have you. But we need to get more back to a spec, which would bring the more competitive features of the fixed timing up to the spec motor, and we'd get away from the ultra performance possibly of the motors we're running, what I call new gen motors. And it would be a motor that would last longer, and then from brand to brand you won't see the wild swings of performance.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah, as I said, we could go on to midnight if you really wanted to, but I just wanted to throw that out there. It's somewhere, nothing's for free, and it's, it just doesn't work out that way. The equation, it's you got to think about it from all the different angles.
Right.
And sometimes we get excited, and I do too. I don't know everything, but I think there's some serious thought needs to be put into this with the manufacturers, Roar. I think some of us all need to get together and do something to get the situation under control. So right now, we have there's a lot of people racing. It could be a lot larger, because when I'm traveling and at OCRC, being there every week, and I go to a lot of tracks and I'm there a couple times a month or so, we're losing too many people. And it's because things are too complicated, perceived to be too complicated, but we need to figure out what's going on so we can have products and build things and encourage people to stick around and have fun. Because we're competing against video games and stuff like that, where it's different. It's difficult on a different level than what we're doing now.
Right.
I can't just hit the reset button after I kit my car on a wall.
Oh, you can't? No. I could do that in my video games. Yeah.
Exactly. So there just needs to be, in my opinion, whether it's the rewards, the organization, we need to get a rules organization that puts that in place and promotes the health and build up a grassroots racing programs again.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And the best series going right now is the guy sitting right next to you, or we're talking to you, Jason. And that's why HobbyWing and Schuur Speed support his series. That is a great series, and everybody that goes there has a good time. And it's not all crazy like some of these races where there's emotions stay much lower at the J Concept race typically.
There you have it.
Yeah.
No, we can just end at that.
Sure.
Jason likes that. Yep.
Yeah, praise you, Jason.
Yeah. Stroke his ego.
I'll pop you on the forehead when I see you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we pretty much got to all the questions. We got a little history of Ron, so I mean, we're in pretty good shape here. I mean, at some point we'll have to let Ron go so he can get back to prepping. But we definitely appreciate him spending some time with us.
Nope, it was fun. Thanks for the invite, guys. Appreciate it. And if there's something I can contribute to, you guys give me a holler. I'll be happy to talk.
And one more thing for people, looking to maybe get some Schuur Speed stuff for HobbyWing. How should they go about getting a hold of the product?
If you want to see what all Schuur Speed has to offer, if you go to SchuurSpeed.com, SCHUUR Speed.com, look around out there. You'll see what we have, and on the bottom of the first page is all the people who resell Schuur Speed, and Aimeen does a fantastic job. So that's one place you can go, but you can look down there. For HobbyWing US, and all the product does ship out of Los Angeles. It'd be, or not Los Angeles area here. It'd be HobbyWingDirect.com. And come visit and check it out and see what's going on. As far as Facebook, there's SchuurSpeed.com that I post to when I'm traveling, and HobbyWing, or it's not SchuurSpeed.com, Schuur Speed in HobbyWing North America that we post to when I'm traveling around. Whether it's me, Charlie, or whoever, we're always posting up there what's going on. And you can find out the latest news up there, too.
Sweet, good deal. Appreciate you being on the show, Ron. And welcome back anytime, of course. And and I guess you'll see Jason.
Hopefully it was worthwhile and we didn't put anybody to sleep.
No, that stuff's really interesting. Believe me, people are going to love it.
Good.
They loved it. They love it, so... And you'll see Jason this weekend, so bop him on the head when you see him.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Hit him twice, once for me.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Thanks. Take care, guys.
All right, thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Perfect.
Good stuff there. Man, I bet you could pick his brain for hours, actually, though.
Like a deer. Tough in this. Yeah, I mean, those guys are from similar eras of racing, and have a lot of that very deep history and experience, and it's awesome to talk to them and be able to work with them on different things. And and it is tough, like Ron talked about with some of these things, because when sometimes people want a real simple answer to a complicated question. And it doesn't necessarily work like that.
Yeah.
I got a friend, like I've been on the show way back in the day on Matt Mosier, and he would ask me things, and he's just like, he's just like, I always gets frustrated. He's like, dude, can't you just like tell me real quick? Like, and I'm just like, it's not like that. Like, if you want to really get, technical about some of this stuff, it's not that simple. It's like somebody asking, well, hey, what kind of tire should I get? Ho.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Well.
All right.
How much time do you have?
Yep. It's just like Ron saying, all right, well, how long have we got here?
Because he could have went even deeper. I mean.
Oh yeah. And it's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. But when
geniuses.
When I talk to people, usually if they message me or send me a Facebook message or something, I'm always kind of like, send me a picture of your track. That's, I can get probably 70% of the way there with a recommendation just by seeing the pictures. And then, fine tuning from there, of course, is.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a lot of variables, and but that's how these things are. And like Ron said, you never know. You don't know everything, but you just try to use some of the experience you have to apply to the next situation and see if it pans out.
Like, what tire would you use that you make today on that track in Butler in 1996?
Oh, that would be easy.
Okay. What is it?
All right, so maybe it's not that easy. Well, there was three different conditions there. The condition that Chris Bing TQ'd in, we would be using bar style tires now. Mm-hmm. So, we would be running, dirt webs or, barcodes, dirt webs, that type of thing. And that would be the ticket. But, at the beginning of the day, we would have been, when the qualifying first started, we would have been running double Ds. At the time, we were running, the thing about those days is we didn't really have, I think we just ran, what was called flat fuzzies. We were just running flat fuzzies back then, and we just, we were using them when the track in the morning, we were using them blue groove. We were putting new ones on all the time. But now, we would have started with, pin tires like we did back then. But as soon as it got grooved up, we would have went to bar tires. And we would have hauled ass. We would have been hauling ass.
Hell yeah.
No doubt about it. But it was good.
All right, so where are you heading? Are you leaving on Thursday, right? To Tacoma.
I'm actually
or tomorrow.
Going to be leaving tomorrow.
All right.
Since it's such a long trip, I decided to leave a little earlier. So what ends up happening, usually when I make the long trips, is it's easy for our West Coast guys to get there fast, and then I get there really late, and they're always like, where are you at? I need to get some stuff, and I'm ready to start mounting tires. And, it's just, my initial thought was, well, if I go, because it's a whole day to get over there.
Yeah.
My initial thought was, all right, if I take off just a little sooner, And then you always have traffic. So inevitably, we travel from this coast to that coast. Then right when we get there, you land at like 5 p.m. So you're in like the worst traffic trying to leave the airport. You know, you're flying into Seattle, and then you have to try to drive somewhere in rush hour traffic.
Mm.
So, like when I went to OCRC for stock nats, I landed at 5 o'clock. I got on the 405, and it was a parking lot. So it just, we're stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice when we fly on our East Coast over here. I mean, that's a little much more simple.
Yeah.
So yeah, going over there, leave tomorrow, get set up, try to have a great race. Thomas is already in Portland. He went check in on his family in Portland, so he's going to meet me over there. And we got a lot of... Hey. Sorry. Got Jazzy. Somebody came home.
Jazzy!
I'm excited. Big girl.
Jazzy made an appearance on the Anchor podcast yesterday.
Yep.
So
she sure did.
She likes being on the show. Don't forget to...
She's always on the show.
Don't forget to download the Anchor app and search Radio Impound, and we have 3 episodes up there. Sort of just doing a quick podcast. And
yeah, the quick and dirty version.
Yeah, and we're doing on the fly. I'm driving down the road or whatever. Jason's driving or whatever. It's all it works really nice. So we're gonna be doing the RIP drive-throughs like that. Maybe we'll catch up with Jason at a race sometime or something like that, and only take like 10 minutes of his time, and not like an hour or so. So.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. All right, so Tacoma. I noticed yesterday we were talking. We got on the 96 rant again, as usual. We always do it. I even worked it into today's show, and I'm going to try and work it into every show if possible, just to annoy you guys. But anyway, you wanted to mention Silver State. Did we ever finish talking about Silver State? I don't want to take up too much more of your time here. If you just want to briefly touch on what you wanted to say before I interrupted with the let's talk 96.
Well, we've had a lot of people ask about how the Silver State went, because it was a brand new race this year held at the South Point Hotel and Casino. Last couple of years, I was at one of my favorite tracks, RC Tracks of Las Vegas, but they decided, they closed down RC Tracks Las Vegas. So that's no more. And so they decided to have a Silver State inside a casino for the first time. And, you have an RC track inside a casino. It's not like it's in there with the slot machines and stuff. They got an equestrian center or some type of, you know what I mean? Like,
that'd be awesome, though, and mix it in with the slot machines and stuff. I'd like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But as it is in Vegas, you're never too far away from any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So people they had a great time at this Silver State event and over there at the South Point.
Mm-hmm.
Had about 500 entries. This is put on by Joey Christensen, who's been on the show, once or twice at least. And, the thing about doing these indoor events is you never know what the dirt's going to be like. So the first year is always really tough because, we end up bringing a ton of different tires. This is an 8-scale event. You always end up bringing a ton of different tires and compounds because you never really know, what it's going to be like. And, the tracks always change. So over time they, kind of mature. They get drier. They get bumpy and blue groove. And also you have all those conditions to think about. So we bring in different tires, and we got to ship them over there. And we had a little bit of a hand from a driver, Chris Rose. he works at FedEx, so we were able to ship to the FedEx hub, and him and Thomas connected, bringing the tires out to the casino, because sometimes it's not easy to bring to ship stuff to a casino. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. But so we didn't want to take that chance. Chris hooked us up, picked them up at the FedEx hub, brought them to the hotel for us.
Wow.
And that worked out pretty well. So Thomas went to the race and did the photos, the video, followed our drivers and the race itself, and it went pretty well. And everybody really that I've talked to has really, really enjoyed the race. And the track did get bumpy. It got dry in the main and really bumpy, and that affected the results because some guys are better in certain conditions or have a better setup at one point or another. And it wasn't. What's really strange is we did well, but we didn't win anything, which was kind of a little disappointing. But Mayfield TQ'd E-Buggy, but they only had one main, and in the main itself, he ended up making a few mistakes, ended up getting second, and the Nitro Buggy main, he qualified second. Ty TQ'd, and Mayfield probably led of the 45-minute main. He probably led 35 plus minutes, and ran one of the smartest races I think I'm not going to say ever seen him run, because he's run a lot of smart races, but definitely ran a great race, crashed less than all the rest of the guys. He took less risks, which I think is a very solid decision on the way the track was bumpy and difficult, and he made the right choice, driving a little easier. But he had one mistake right at the end, and Ty got by him, and he ended up getting second.
Heartbreaker.
So, the guys did make, Ty definitely made more mistakes, was a little bit quicker individual lap time wise, but he also was always in second or third. He was pushing really hard. Ryan was in the lead most of the race, so he was able to be a little bit more careful with what he was doing. And there's a lot of bumpy sections on the track, and one got him right at the end. That probably cost him the win. But I talked to him. He wasn't too upset about it. No one likes not winning, especially those guys. But he's like, man, I really kind of felt like I did all I could do. He's like, I don't know how many. He's like, I probably made 4 mistakes the whole race, and I could afford 3.
Yeah, man, that's a bummer.
So, but yeah, he's one of the guys that no matter what the condition is, he's out there getting it done. He's always in contention. Cavallari was there. Spencer was there. Cole Ogden was there. So we had 4 guys, I think, in each main. So it's really good. Still good year for us on the Nitro side. I don't think we've ever been as successful as we have been this year on the Nitro side of things. And, we still got a lot of racing to do this year, including a Worlds, and a lot of big races still this year. So,
yeah.
And then on the Truggy side, Jared Tebow won Truggy, which was kind of weird, is he's had so much success in his career, but he's been, I'd say, struggling a little bit for him last year. But he ended up winning Truggy, which is really funny because he's probably got the oldest platform Truggy of anybody. The Kyosho platform is way older than everything else.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, his truck worked great on that track. And Ty made a lot of mistakes trying to keep up or pass him, and Jared was fast and consistent the entire race. So Mayfield had bad qualifiers, so he qualified 10th, but he said he made it up to 4th place, and he said that's about as far as he could get in the time that he had on the track. And by the time he got up, and he said he's like, the track was pretty tough, and he's like, by the time I got to 4th, it's like I couldn't really get much higher than that. So yeah, it was Jared won Truggy, Ty won Nitro Buggy, and Ryan Lutz won E-Buggy. Mayfield went second, 4th. And Spencer made all the mains, didn't have his best race overall in the mains. And Cavallari made all the mains. But, he didn't really get up there on the podium, but he was about 6th, and just shows you how tough the competition is.
Yeah.
It's everybody that could race. It was there from the U.S. It was a stacked event, and everyone loved it. They thought it was awesome. So I think that thing will be back next year, even bigger. And then
get our revenge.
Yeah, try to come a little even more prepared and see if we can really kick some butt. But those guys have forgot all about that race already, and
yeah, they don't have much time to dwell on it. These guys anymore.
No, not a lot of reflecting.
It seems like they're racing week to week.
Yeah, you really are. You live in that moment, and when it's over, it's a distant memory, because next week you're probably somewhere else. In a lot of our guys' case, you're somewhere else with a different vehicle and a different class. So then we got David Ronafalk out running. He was in the other part of the world. He was running in the Philippines. Had a big race out there called the Philippine Masters that Scotty Ernst puts on. He was out there doing that, and then while he was there, he stayed an extra week, and then they're heading to Australia right now. They might be there now already for a Worlds warm-up. And we mentioned earlier that the 8-scale Worlds is this year in Australia, so he's out there going to run a warm-up this weekend. And, we shipped a bunch of tires out there so he can kind of give us an idea of where we need to go come the big deal later this year.
No.
So, yeah, I'm excited to hear his feedback. We've been experimenting a little bit with some body stuff with him and trying to get a handle on what he wants and what he likes. So overall, that's been good. Staying up to speed there. And just look forward to hearing his feedback being in Australia. And I think Allison and I will probably be going over there later in the year for the Worlds. And I'm looking forward to the race, not the trip.
Yeah, that trip would be brutal.
Yeah, it's like 20 hours on a plane. So it's like not something I'm really looking forward to. But
hopefully we meet some of our listeners. We have listeners in Australia.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yep. We got it's gonna be an awesome race. Can't wait.
All right, well, we'll let you go and get ready for that race this weekend. What's J Concepts shipping out as we currently speak? What do you got going out the door?
New B6 stuff. Got the B6 aluminum rear ball stud mount. Got the new shock towers, carbon fiber shock towers. releasing those. We had another aluminum motor plate. Kind of getting all the hop-ups we like to do for the car, getting those updated for the latest version. That's kind of what we like to do there. We got, like I said before when we were talking with Kirby, we got 3 new bodies in the queue waiting on decals to get those released. We always have a lot of bodies in the queue. We more have like 6 in the queue, but 3 that are more like on deck.
Right. Okay. They're on the getting ready to ship.
Yeah, they're like on my press release desktop, ready to go.
Nice.
And the other ones are so they're like in tech, ready to race. And the other ones are still in the pits, but they know their race is coming up soon.
Ooh.
So we got some tire stuff going too. Been kind of waiting to show any of our new tire stuff. We got a lot of cool new stuff going, but we're trying to get them as far along as possible before we show any of that stuff. But just been a good year so far.
Keep an eye on jconcepts.net. There you go there for all the latest releases and so forth. I'm sure you already knew that though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Rich has been doing a good job keeping our website updated. If it's been a while since you've been there, it's nice because we keep the homepage updated with new banners, race results.
Yeah,
we really try to put our latest releases. We kind of have the main rotating banner up front, but then underneath that we got 3 boxes that are like, we put new products there, or if there's a special or something. Then below that we also have our latest video or vlog on the right corner. Then on the left corner we always have our latest news releases, press releases, and we're trying to be real active on our social media stuff, keep that up to date on Instagram. I've been doing more stories. Somebody told me one day, I don't know if somebody, Allison or somebody, like, let's do some stories. I started doing more stories. I was like, how do we do these? So, getting the stories updated on Instagram, not only for me personally, but also J Concepts. So it's been good. Been good.
Awesome.
All right. Check out that website.
What website's that?
Go to the jconcepts.net. Check out that events page. Rich has been updating the events page because we got a Memorial Day. Is it Memorial Day coming up?
Yep.
That's what's in May. Got a big event going on there that he would just added to the events page, and like I said,
J Concepts events, where the powers explode and the fun begins.
Yeah, that was something I wrote back in 2007. The power explodes and the fun begins.
Yep. All the info.
Which was kind of which you can relate to. It was kind of an offshoot of wrestling, where the mega powers explode.
The mega powers.
Because when I originally wrote it, it was for the Clash event, and we had Nitro and Electric at the same event, which was very, at the time, very unusual, I guess you could say. Or I don't know if I would say we were the first, but we were definitely one of the first ones to have an event like that. And yeah, so it was the J Concepts Clash where the powers explode, and then I think we added "and the fun begins." And we wrote a press release or something, but because it was powers, right? We had the electric power and we had the nitro power. So
yeah, I like it. Anything if you could cross the wrestling with the RC, I like it. So
yeah, it's funny because I, so familiar with those, those '80s days.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that stuff I wrote without even really realizing what it was. And later on, you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
It has a little tie-in.
Yeah. All right, there you have it. jconcepts.net. Go there for all your info. Don't forget to download the Anchor app on your phone to keep up with it. We'll post on Facebook when we uploaded a show, so you can go on Anchor and listen to. I'm sure Anchor also notifies you when we upload a show. But really cool. It's fun. Go in there. You can give us a clap. There's a little hand that claps, and I get a notification on my phone then each time a person claps the show. Not liking, but claps. And go give us one of those and tell your friends. And it's a fun little show that we're doing called the RIP Drive-Thru. And what else? Facebook.com/Radio Impound. Give us a like. Give Jason a like over there at J Concepts, which he's already up to like 70,000 or whatever. He doesn't need any more.
Yeah, no, we need as many as we can get.
Yeah. All done, guys. Episode 172. It was fun. Thanks to Ron Schuur.
How does it go? The road
for being on the show.
To 200.
The road to 200, and then we're done completely. It's over. 200's the last show. That's right.
We'll see.
All right, fans.
See about that.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Who knows? Jason might, Jason might put some extra cannolis in my contract that make me come back for another 5 years or something like that. There we go.
Good.
All right. We'll see you, fans. Good luck. Anybody going out to the J Concepts race this weekend, kick some ass. Good luck. Have some fun. Go over there if you need any help. Jason is there to help you out.
That's right. We'll figure it out.
And Jason will do what he can for you. Right, Jason?
That's right.
All right. So that is it. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. 172 in the books.
See ya.